Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the review realm. Once again, we got another album review for you. If you are new to the show, please hit the like button on this, subscribe to the review realm. It really helps us out with our album reviews and our interviews as well. Joining me, as always, my co host of the review realm, Sam, the SLB. Hello, Sam.
Hey guys, we got a big one this weekend. Arguably one of the biggest album releases of the year. So it's been 6 years since we've reviewed one of this band's albums. So curious to see how this one pans out.
Yeah, if you haven't checked that out, we did do a review of their self-titled album back in 2021. That was the quad box we brought in. We were hoping to bring in a couple of friends on this one, but it didn't pan out that way. I'll add a little more on that in a sec. But we are talking about Lamb of God's 10th album. Wikipedia says 12th album, and I'm like, that's not right because I think they're counting Burn the Priest. But this is 10th album for under the name Lamb of God. Into Oblivion, we'll be talking about today.
Yeah, this one we've been looking forward to talk about.
Yeah, well, also too, Sam, we were not very kind on the last album that we talked about. They put out an album in 2022, Omens, which so that was the last album from them. But we were apprehensive with this one because I think we acknowledged it in 2020 that personally, in my opinion, I think since Seven Sturm und Drang, which was the last album with Chris Adler, there has been a decline with this band.
Agreed. I know a lot of people actually. I don't know. I don't remember the feeling. I feel like a lot of people don't like Seven, and I know you and I really thought Seven was pretty solid. There's been a pattern that we talked about for a long time when they have a really good album and then like an okay album, and up and down. And at Seven was like the last one. I remember we talked about the self-titled album where I think I even looked at you similar to Trivium. I think that year and just like nothing stuck.
Yeah, so I was very concerned with this album, I would say. And getting into the singles, I think this had four singles, which
Yep.
Sepsis, we were like, what the fuck is this? We both thought.
I was honestly sepsis was I was ready to clock out. I'm just like I looked at I was we listened to it and you and I are both on the same page with a lot of the different tastes, but I think when it comes to the core metal stuff, you and I are pretty similar. So you and I heard sepsis and we're like, what is this?
Yeah, and I mean, I'll just say it right off the bat. I don't like this album. I'll just say that right from the top here, as we're
Um,
talking about.
it's not my favorite, but I don't think it's the worst. There were things on this album I didn't really enjoy that I thought went back to core Lamb of God. And there was a lot of other things I'm just like, it just did not click. And I'm like, it's the album I didn't think was tracked well. Um, some good things, some stuff I was just like, yeah, whatever, take it or leave it.
No, I think one of the highlights for me, one of the out parts that I did like about the album was one of the things, Parasocial Christ. That's probably my favorite song in the album. Even though overall, like you said, Sam, the production on this is not very good. I think it sounds muffly at times.
Mm-hmm. Um, Parasocial Christ, I think, is probably one of my top two favorite songs. It sounds like the Lamb of God to the core. In my opinion. Same with actually Blunt Force Blues. Also kind of surprised me the last single that hit.
That was Blunt Force Blues was the point I tapped out.
Oh, really? Interesting. What about it? Did you?
I had nothing after Blunt Force Blues. I was like, what else is there to say? I said
I guess we can go from the third single going into the start of the album. Into Oblivion was it was all right. It had that very metalcore like chug like da 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 da, and I'm like, it didn't sound like Lamb of God has their own sound, and this sounded a little too modern, like almost like a metalcore, deathcore y kind of feel to it.
the
Um,
the title track was fine. It's not really a strong title track, but I could see it being the best option as a name for the album with what they had to work with here.
mhm.
Overall, it was
um,
just lackluster for me.
well, this album and we're going to get some heat. So, guys, tell us why we're wrong in the comments. This album is literally what we just talked about. This discography up and down. So, Into Oblivion, it was like, all right, whatever. Parasocial Christ, you and I are like, all right, we got Lamb of God, and then it goes in the sepsis. You're like, what is this? For me, I don't know about you. The Killing Floor, I enjoyed The Killing Floor. It might be my favorite song on the album. So, Killing Floor, back up, and then it goes into
El
Vacío,
Vacío, yeah.
El Vacío, yeah, another singing track from Ray. I was like, all right, this is all right. I preferred the one on 7.
That's what I wrote down. It was trying to be Overlord, and I was just not feeling it. I said,
Um, St. Catherine's Wheel, I enjoyed. Like I said, Blenford's Blues, and then towards the end, I was just like, there were, again, the ones I mentioned, I think were Lamb of God, and then everything else, I don't know what was going on. There's a lot of experimentation here that I don't care for. Some bands I do like that with the progressive stuff, with the experimental stuff, and Lamb of God is not one of them.
that's where I'm confused with this band, because it's obvious that a decline started when after Chris Adler left the band. And I'm puzzled by that because it's not like Art Cruz is a bad drummer. He's good and he
Mhm.
can play the songs, but I'm wondering, I'm like, did the way this band writes have to change after Chris Adler left, and that's why there's this sudden, well, not, I don't know if it's sudden because this is the third album without him, but this shift, and it just doesn't feel the same as it used to now.
No, it like I said, there's certain things in here that sound like Lamb of God, but it's not. It, it makes you wonder. All right, it's kind of like when Dream Theater's Mike Portnoy had left. I said David Portnoy. Mike Portnoy had left the band in 2010. Some people would argue that was their better stuff after he left. Other people would say that the band like declined. I was on the impression I still like the stuff post, and the writing style definitely felt different. And you realize early on, you're like, oh, he really was like, you don't realize how much of a driving force he is here. So the same thing here, um, to go at Chris. I think 3 albums in, because did you listen to Omens? I didn't listen to Omens.
I did listen to Omens, and it was more of the same from the self-titled album. Like a couple good songs here and there. Overall, as an album, it's not great. But this, overall, I would say this is the weakest of the last 3 albums. I personally don't enjoy this, and I will not revisit it.
Oh, you thought this was weaker than the other two?
Yeah, I definitely think Omens and the self-titled were better than this.
Interesting, interesting, which is weird because I just was like, for me, oddly enough, there were again things clicked on this album more than the self-title. And keep in mind, the self-title was where we lost Chris. So now you got Art. And usually I'm like, all right, maybe they got some leftover stuff from like the previous when Chris was there that they could work with. And then they'd make fizzle out. Kind of the same thing with like Suicide Silence and all these other bands when they lose a core member when the writing shifts. And this felt to me a little stronger than the self-titled. Not by much. I'm not going to tell you guys go out run and buy this album. Maybe you like it. I don't know. Um, to me, and I said this for a long time, and this hurts saying it. Metallica held, I'd say it was like Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden kind of held the metal torch. Metallica took it. Black Album, that's when you get Pantera to, take it. Pantera breaks up. To me, Lamb of God was that band that took the torch and ran with it. And 3 albums into this, we're in the over halfway through the 2020s, and I do not know who holds the torch now. With, I'd say Lamb of God out of the running.
Yeah, there's something changed here, and I don't know if it's just coincidence because after Chris Adler left, but there was definitely some type of shift in the writing and in the music since that, and it really it has not been the same since. And I knew, and we knew, or we felt, I should say, a red flag when they changed the band logo to whatever this is on this album. I said.
Yeah, it's almost like that late '90s thing where everyone's like, "Oh, we're gonna change and we're gonna do something different. We're gonna get experimental," and everyone's like, "No, this is bad. This is not good."
No, I
So
especially the reasons Randy gave for the change. I do not agree with it. I mean, it's not. I know it's not our band. I said, but they were up there as one of the most recognizable metal bands that there is. You know, they're up there with like symbol wise, Iron Maiden. They're up there with Metallica and Slipknot, and all said that like that band logo is iconic. And for them to change it, I do not agree with it. But it symbolizes the direction that they tried to go with this album, and I think it fell flat.
yeah, I'm curious to see how this is rated. I've been one of the things we've been doing since doing this channel is I try to avoid any reviews of any albums that we're going to review. Um, because I'm curious. Because actually, the last two albums they got like 80% like across the board, and I'm like, all right, it's the Magma thing. We'll always go back to Magma. Everyone said Magma's Gojira's like magnum opus, and a bunch of us are just like, I don't know. Like, so I guess tell us in the comments, guys, why we're wrong here.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like Sam, that's going to happen because on the self-titled, you know, a lot of people were saying the opposite of what we were saying, that the album was solid, and I wonder if we're going to get more of the same on this. But I don't see it, but please tell us in the comment section what you think of the album. We definitely want to know your thoughts on this. I feel like that's pretty much our thoughts on the album, Sam. Unless you have more to share.
No, like I said, let us know your thoughts down below. I'm curious, but not not a memorable Limb of God album.
Unfortunately, not. But we did review it for you. So please share, like, subscribe, all everything for the review realm. We will see you guys for the next album review. And as always, do not forget to join the Bedlam.